All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Compassion is the basis of morality. The world is my idea. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants. The two enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. Life is a constant process of dying. To live alone is the fate of all great souls. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. Will is the reality of the world, and life is a struggle for existence, driven by a blind and irrational will to live. The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done just the opposite. In our monogamous part of the world, to marry means to have one's rights and double one's duties. Happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves. For all external sources of happiness and pleasure are, by their very nature, highly uncertain, precarious, ephemeral, and subject to chance. Great men are like eagles, and build their nest on some lofty solitude. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. Men are by nature merely indifferent to one another, but women are by nature enemies. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. The fundament upon which all our knowledge and learning rests is the inexplicable. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. Change alone is eternal, perpetual, immortal. Wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame. Buying books would be a good thing if one could also buy the time to read them. The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. It is in trifles, and when he is off his guard, that a man best shows his character. After your death, you will be what you were before your birth. A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. To overcome difficulties is to experience the full delight of existence. It is a clear gain to sacrifice pleasure in order to avoid pain. To desire immortality is to desire the perpetuation of a great mistake. Fame is something that must be won, honor is something that must not be lost. Sleep is the interest we have to pay on the capital which is called in at death. Wicked thoughts and worthless efforts gradually set their mark on the face, especially the eyes. The first 40 years of life give us the text, the next 30 supply the commentary. Politeness is to human nature what warmth is to wax. There is no absurdity so palpable but that it may be firmly planted in the human head if you only begin to inculcate it before the age of 5, by constantly repeating it with an air of great solemnity. We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. Our life is like a loan received from death, with sleep as the interest paid. The greatest achievements are those that benefit others. Every parting gives a foretaste of death. Every reunion a hint of the resurrection. Honor has not to be won, it must only not be lost. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. The best consolation in misfortune or affliction of any kind is to observe other people who are suffering worse. the more a man has in himself, the less he will need from the outside world. Genius is an intellect that has become unfaithful to its destiny. One should use common words to say uncommon things. If we were not all so interested in ourselves, life would be so uninteresting that none of us would be able to endure it. One who writes for fools will always find a large audience. Men need some kind of external activity, because they are inactive within. Suffering by nature or chance never seems so painful as suffering inflicted on us by the arbitrary will of another. The deep pain that is felt at the death of every friendly soul arises from the feeling that there is, in every individual, something which is inexpressible, peculiar to him alone, and, therefore, absolutely and irretrievably lost. Man can indeed do what he wants, but he cannot want what he wants. Truth is most beautiful undraped. It is a great misfortune to be alone, my friends, and it must be firmly believed that all men desire to be happy. Reading is thinking with someone else's head instead of one's own. A pessimist is an optimist in full possession of the facts. The brain may be regarded as a kind of parasite of the organism, a pensioner, as it were, who dwells with the body. To marry means to do everything possible to become an object of disgust to each other. Ordinary people merely think how they shall spend their time. A man of talent tries to use it. Every nation ridicules other nations, and all are right. Genius is its own reward. For the best that one is, one must necessarily be for oneself. The philosopher strives to meet the fate with equanimity, without avoiding or fearing the end. To be alone is to be different is to be alone. Without books, the development of civilization would have been impossible. They are the engines of change, windows on the world, and lighthouses, erected in the sea of time. The longer a man's fame is likely to last, the later it will be in coming. Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom. The more one reads, the less one imitates.